Welcome to my cooking class. Today I'm excited to welcome you to my kitchen. My name is Charlotte Habegger and I am an independent consultant with Avocado. I'm also a director. I am also a connector, so my goal is to connect you to things that make your life better, help you with your business or your project so that you can live a long, healthy life and enjoy the things that you would like to do in your life. About eating and food, my main goal is to bring you easy recipes, simple things that you can do with very few ingredients that you have at home, and of course you can tailor to your needs and your preferences. I always do vegetarian, even vegan recipes, and you can adapt it to whatever protein source you use in your kitchen. So are you ready to get started today? Let me get you settled so you can see everything. So if you are watching live, make sure to comment. I do a draw among people who have registered and who are watching live. So I am going to share tonight a recipe for making spring rolls. So it's our spring rolls that we make in my home. We eat them at least once a week, maybe twice a week. And what I love about it is everybody can have their favorite parts or ingredients in their own spring roll. So I'm going to show you the basic recipe that we make in our home, and if you want to make it more, sophisticated, chic, with anything that you like, you can go right ahead. I'm going to start with what takes the most time, because the goal is for this to last 15 minutes at most. So I always start with what will take more time, and while that's cooking, then we do the other ingredients. Are you ready to get going? Please write in the comments what you like to have as far as Asian-inspired food. What area of Asia do you usually get it in a restaurant? Do you usually buy it from the store? Do you make it yourself? And what are the recipes that you like? Okay, so if you're a spring roll fan, I'd like to know what you do with your spring rolls at home. I'm going to use my super wok. So everything I show is from the company Epicure. It's what I've chosen because as a former scientist, what matters to me are the ingredients, and that we use quality utensils and food products that do not contain toxic chemicals. So I'm going to use my wok, which we use every single day. We use it for about 13 years now. We use it for everything. We downsize our kitchen utensils and tools, and we only use basic minimum. So I am going to fry up a little bit of tofu in my wok, so a little bit of olive oil. If you want to cook without oil, that is great, fine too. You can use whatever you have at home, or we have steamers that also go in the microwave if you want to, or you could even bake the tofu. And I'm going to prepare some tofu. So the way I usually buy the very firm tofu, like this. I rinse it off, I dry it on a towel while I'm preparing the rest of the ingredients. So for spring rolls, I'm going to cut it in small strips, the length of the spring roll. So you could also cut it in small cubes because you could reuse the same tofu for another recipe or a dish or whatever. So I'm just going to cut a few very thin strips here to put in my spring roll. Everybody in my home makes their spring rolls different. Some of them make them long, some of them make them short, fat, whatever. Some of them can hardly close theirs. So my husband and children, we often cook this menu, and we each make our own spring rolls, though we prepare the ingredients together. So I'm going to fry up my tofu strips. I just made very small tofu strips, very thin. If you want to make cubes, if you want to use, there's like tofu that you can buy that looks like ground meat, so you could use that as well. And you can also use another protein source. I just use vegetarian protein sources. So that is going to fry in some oil with super spice I love. So we have two choices. The one I'm going to use for this is our Asian stir fry. So if you are interested in ordering, you can order these in Canada or in the US. They come to you in a couple days, and depending on the time of the year when you order, it's only spices, it's food. Like there's nothing else in there. I don't know of anything that's comparable. And like I said, as a biochemist, I use this because of the ingredients. So, and you only need very little because it's only actual spices and food. So I'm going to sprinkle that over my tofu strips. few minutes. Of course, if you're using meat or seafood or anything that you would normally put in your spring rolls, then you might want to cook it a little bit longer. Usually vegetarian things just take less time because they don't need as much cooking time. So now I'm going to look at what I'm going to put in the spring rolls, right? So we already did the tofu. We love a couple things. If you don't like those ingredients, don't use those. Use whatever you like at home. What do you have in your refrigerator that you really enjoy? Vegetables. I mean, you could do scrambled eggs and put pieces of scrambled eggs into your spring rolls. You can put any vegetable. There's no rule, actually. It doesn't have to be a perfect Asian recipe. It's Asian inspired anyway, so you can make it whatever. You can make Mexican inspired spring rolls if you want. So what we have in our home is we like to put some mushrooms. So I just use the regular white mushrooms, but often we use portobello mushrooms because they just have a really umami taste. You know, it's what people use to replace meat in a lot of vegetarian recipes. That's what I use. So I just cut the mushroom in small pieces, small strips again, that are going to be easy to put into the spring roll. And then I could also fry it with the spice. I could put that in there with the tofu. Put it in there with the tofu if I want to. We vary. Sometimes we eat raw. My husband eats raw a lot. He's like a raw vegan. And the kids and I would just vary. Sometimes we cook it, sometimes we don't for the mushrooms. So I'm just going to cut a couple mushrooms in these small pieces. So if you don't like mushrooms, then you can use something else. One more mushroom here. I like to use a really good, sharp, good quality knife because you want the pieces to be small enough to fit into your spring roll. And I don't like spending too much time cooking, so I want a knife that works. So here I have my mushrooms. They're just regular white mushrooms. You can use any mushrooms you like. I like them because they have a lot of protein, right? So here's trying to find it. There you go. Just some sliced up mushrooms. Another thing is I like to throw in anything we used for meals in the last couple of days. Well, let's say a day or two, you know. So I had some peas from, we did a General Tao. Also, I have another video about that if you'd like. And so we had some green peas left over. So I thought, those would be good in a spring roll, right? I like to vary the colors. So I like to have different things with different colors. Then I wanted to put some avocado. I love avocado. I share it often, but I grew up in the Caribbean, in the French Caribbean, and we had an avocado tree, and I miss it. I put avocado in everything. It also has a lot of nutrition, so I like avocados for that. It's actually one of the items that helped me get rid of chronic pain that I was really dealing with like about a decade ago. One of the foods that I've added a lot of is avocado. So, of course, it doesn't work for everybody. So some avocado. Another thing that we really, really like is kale. We love to put kale. Kale, anything that's dark, green, leafy, is this so good for your health? It gives, it gives a crunchiness to the spring roll. It also gives it, it gives volume to the spring roll. And we just find it fun, and it's not so expensive. So if you like kale, you can use kale. If you don't like kale, don't use kale. Use lettuce. I mean, you could actually make your spring roll in kale or in lettuce instead of using the actual rice. You could use lettuce instead of the rice to make your wrap for the spring roll. That's in another video. So we use kale. We actually use raw kale. So I really cut up into tiny, tiny pieces. I make strips. If you prefer, you can cook it. It will become very much smaller. So it's up to you. You can fry it with the tofu and with the mushrooms. So I'm just going to make very, very, very thin slices of the kale. The way I use kale is I buy a bouquet of kale. And then for each recipe, we kind of just pull off one leaf. And then we leave the rest in the refrigerator, or wherever you keep your vegetables. And then we just cut the green part off of the stem. We don't use the stem for our recipes. I don't use this part. It's hard to digest, but you could keep it for making soup. We usually have in our freezer. I don't know if we have one right now. We always have one of these going. It's with anything that we've made in the week. We've just put the hard stems in the freezer. And then we want to make a soup every week. Then we have, really nutritious items for that. So that's going to go in the freezer. So one of my next recipes, right? Soup. Although I think we did that one already. So kale, mushrooms, green peas. My tofu is getting really, really close here. So here we go. My tofu is also getting ready, and by the time it's ready, I want everything else to be ready so we can start making our spring rolls, because these are really easy, quick spring rolls, right? So my tofu is getting really nice color here. I don't know if you can see it. It smells awesome, awesome. Okay, so I'm a bit addicted to lemon too, lemon juice, lime juice. Maybe again from the Caribbean, we had trees. It's actually more like little like bushes that grew, like small trees in a way, that grew what we call lemon. But our lemon was little teeny tiny lime type green fruit. So I love it. I put it everywhere. So I don't know if you like lemon. When I'm out of lemon or lime, I use grapefruit. I use orange slices. And I use a citrus press. So with Habegger, we have a super citrus press. You just I'll show you how it works. So I have a lemon here. Do you think about rinsing your lemon? I would rinse anything that comes from the store. We often order from a farm too. So in any case, I would still always rinse it. So I cut it in half. And I'm going to use the citrus press, so you put it upside down. That's the trick. I'll use it in a second, okay? So I have my avocado, my kale is ready, my mushrooms, my green pea, and I wanted to use my carrots as well. So you must know, if you've already watched my videos, I have my favorite Habegger thingy, and you know I invent names for things, so if you want to know the real name, you're going to have to go on my website, but I call it a spiralizer. I'm pretty sure it's called like a veggie slicer, or I'm always inventing names. I'm an inventor, so as a scientist, I like to have fun with stuff. Food has to be fun, okay? We already have so many things that are not fun in life. So I like to use this spiralizer to make spirals with my carrots, and I find that for spring rolls, this is very practical. So there are two sides to it. You can make like ribbons, kind of they're wider, so it's more for like you could make fettuccine with vegetables and an Alfredo sauce. So that's super easy, takes a couple minutes. I mean, even kids know how to use this. And the other side makes smaller, like not as wide, and it's more like spaghetti type slicer. So I'm going to make this with my carrots for our spring rolls. And I don't want them to be too long because they'll be difficult to eat, so I like them to be cut them smaller and smaller pieces. So let me show you what they look like. My carrot spiral. Here's an example of a carrot spiral with my spiralizer. So I'm going to break them up a little bit so they're easier to put in the spring roll. So now we're ready to get going. Yay! So what are we missing? We're missing our, what do they call them? Spring roll wrappers. It's actually like a rice paper. I used to not know where to find them, but you actually go to your grocery store and there's like exotic food aisles, and you have the two items I'm going to show you are the rice paper, and then, although you might use a different name for it, write that in the comments. And then we have the rice noodles too that I'm going to use for my spring rolls, and for both of them I just use hot water, and it takes a minute or two. So that's going to be the last step here before we start building our spring rolls. Are you excited? So I have some hot water here. I boiled it before the cooking class, and so it's still hot. I'm going to use it here. First, I'm going to heat up this. These are my rice noodles called vermicelle. It's rice noodles. It's very simple. They come in a package as well in the store. You can also go to, sometimes there are stores that sell specifically Asian-oriented, inspired items. So I just put it in my strainer here with a bowl underneath. And I'm just going to put it in some hot water for a couple minutes. There you go. There we go. And then the other thing I'm going to need hot water for is to heat up my rice paper. So that's the part I used to find tricky. I don't know if you've done this before, if it was simple to you the first time you made it, or if it was complicated. But for our family, it took us a few tries to understand how to use the rice paper. Okay, the spring roll wrappers, or however it's called, wherever you buy it. So I'm just going to put some hot water, not boiling because you'll get hurt, but really hot water. It could be hot water from the tap into a container or a bowl, or here I'm using a pan. And you need to, so I buy them in a package of like 10 or 20. It looks like this, very thin. And like this, it would not be edible. Like it's crunchy, like it feels like plastic. So it would, I mean, it's technically edible, but that's not a spring roll. You can't, it's not flexible. You need to be ready when you do this. So one thing that we do is we actually get the hot water ready in a bowl. But of course, you use a pot, a pan, a bowl, a container. As long as it's wide enough to put your rice paper in, it works, okay? And you need to be ready for this because it's quick. And right next to it, we usually put like a towel, like a hand towel or something, just to dry it off a little bit because it will be wet when you get it up. So I just put it in the hot water. Sometimes I hold a corner so I can pull it out afterwards, okay? Sometimes I just wait till the water's not so hot anymore. I wait just a couple, it's like 3 to 5 seconds if the water's hot enough. Then I pull it out. It's all wet now, okay? Then I'm going to dry it off. I just lay it down on the towel. And everybody probably has their way they do it, but this is the way we do it. I only go off one side so that it will work. And then I'm going to use my container here too. I'm going to use a glass container, but you could use a plate, a bowl, as long as it doesn't stick to it. So I'm going to use this to place my, it's tricky because you don't want it to stick to itself, okay? It's kind of like playing with stickers or, tape or stuff like that. Like, you have to have a technique so it just works out, right? So, I think I'm going to use a plate instead because the container is not going to work for me. So, a plate. This is actually what we do at home. So I put it on the plate, I open it up, make sure it's all opened up, and then what I do is I'm going to put the ingredients in it. How can I explain this? So I'm going to take the rice paper. You're not going to be able to see it very well, so I want to explain it. Your rice paper is on your plate or in your container, and you're going to make like a design, like a line in the middle of the circle. Like you don't put ingredients just everywhere. I usually make like a line, so I'll show you when I've done it. What I'm going to put in there is I'm going to put some of the rice noodles. I just need something because they're still hot. So to get the rice noodles out, you can actually just strain it with the water. So the rice noodles I just put in hot water earlier, you could just strain it, and then put it on a towel, for example. And I'm going to take some of it and just take some of the noodles, and I'm not sure you can see this. So my rice noodles are ready. I'm just going to take some of it and put it in the center of my rice paper here, in the line. I'll try and see if I can show that to you. So I'm going to put some of the kale in a lime as well. Some of the tofu is ready too. That's the tofu that I fried with a little bit of the Asian stir fry blend. So I'm going to put that in here too. My sides are sticking a little bit, but it doesn't really matter so much because in the end it won't make any difference. The mushrooms. Okay. And then the peas. Did I forget anything? The carrots. There we go. So, let me see if I can show you how I do this. There's two more things missing, but I want to show you how I do this. So, I'll make a line. I made a line. Like you can see my edges are sticky, but that won't make a difference. As long as the middle is flat. And I put everything in a line. Doesn't matter what direction, it's a line in a circle. And I'm going to add two more ingredients. So I'm going to add another spice blend. It's actually a dressing mix. It's called a dressing mix. I just love it, love it, love it. It's sesame ginger. Sesame ginger. See if I can show you how it looks. Sesame ginger. So I just have to put that all along all over everything. If you want, you could actually make a salad dressing with it, like a sauce. So you would use a curry and fennel, and you would put a spoonful of the dressing mix and then the ingredients to add to it. Like a 2-minute dressing that you could use as a sauce for your spring rolls. I just like to sprinkle it on top. I'm a spice queen, so I love that. And I could put some sea salt too, if I want. And on this, you're trying to avoid salt or not. Some black pepper. Yummy. I can't wait. And so the other ingredient that I wanted to add is the lemon juice. Here. This citrus sauce is super easy. Like people who have joint pain or kids can use it. It's easy to use. So I don't know if you can see that, but yes, I like a lot of lemon. So now, what we're going to do is, it's going to be hard for me to do with one hand, but I want to show you. I fold over one end a little bit, just a little bit. I fold over the other end just a little bit too. And then I fold over the long end, if you will. Here we go. And mine are not pretty, but they're very practical and they're very scientifically prepared, right? So my first one is not always the best. I'll show you a picture when I make the next couple of ones. Because I am not doing very well with one hand here. Just bear with me for a minute. If you make spring rolls, tell me how yours look and what you like to do. And I'd love to know, see your pictures and everything. So this is not my best spring roll ever, honestly. But I will show you the results. Gives you a good idea. And like you see, it takes 15 minutes, even with the cooking time. So, there we go. There we go. If you want to see what it looks like. There's different colors. There's the carrots, the mushrooms, the kale, the green pea, the avocado, the tofu, the spices, the lemon juice, the salt and pepper, and the whole thing took me less than 20 minutes with the explaining it. So if you want to order any of the ingredients or the utensils I'm using, you'll see my website on the group. If you have questions, comments, suggestions for further recipes, I would love that. I'm also preparing to receive guests, expert guests on different kinds of cuisine, on different kinds of food. And remember, my goal is for you to eat less chemical products or toxic products in your food, for cooking to be simple, easy, so you have more time and live a long and healthy life to enjoy and achieve all of your life projects and dreams. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. And please comment, share, like my videos on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you very much for following my cooking class, and have a great rest of your day or evening.